I've got 5 insanely underrated nations for you, packed with flavour and content that needs people to enjoy them. But the temptation there is to keep playing our comfort nations, ones we're good at, and we need to break free of that. Now, none of these 5 nations are in the top 15 most played nations so far, so there's a good chance you'll find a save to try. And if I give you the idea for a new run that you think you'll enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel below. Let's crack on. Starting with my favourite nation in the whole of EU5, the Kingdom of Serbia. So why are they my favourite nation in the entire game? And no, it's not just because of Dusan Tadic. Well, they're insanely underrated. In fact, they're one of the strongest nations in the entirety of Europe. They start with an insane ruler, some of the best RGOs in the game, with 5 silver provinces residing in their initial borders and loads of gold and silver provinces surrounding them. They're set up for a quick economic boom. They're also a bit of a challenge though. Wedged between the Byzantine Empire, Naples and Hungary, they've got quite a few early game adversaries that could cause them some issues. And they have a lot of unique country flavour. Namely, early game access to the Serbian Hussars Regiment and 10% cavalry power, one of the most strongest unique regiments in the game, especially early on. They get 4 combat power, 5 combat speed, 200% flanking ability, 6 initiative, and 5% extra morale damage. And when you consider that full cavalry armies are quite meta at the moment, this can make Serbia insanely strong, considering these units are of similar quality to the overpowered regulars that the Great Horde gets at the start of the game. Now don't get me wrong, they aren't as good, but you can afford to make a hell of a lot of them and you're not about to collapse. There's also quite a lot of scripted events, such as this one, giving you a free town, 1 development, and a lot of prosperity, and a de facto mission tree in the Dreams of King Stefan event, which gives you humongous claims in Province CB, which is minus 25% by the way, over large parts of the Byzantine Empire. And if you complete the conquest of these provinces, you can become an empire, declare your own Orthodox Church, and we will benefit from the insatiable ambition modifier for the benefit of his rule, buffing his life expectancy by 10 years at the cost of forcing him to be a military commander. Now you get these claims for 20 years, so ample time to make the most of them. However, the strongest part is the Empire rank you can get through this. You can bypass the normal requirements of 10 million population, 70 prestige, and give yourself some humongous buffs, like an extra cabinet seat, a lot of diplomatic capacity, or even just the ability to support rebels in other countries. And finally, perhaps the most overpowered event of the 3 is the Gold Found in Lecce event, announcing that in the mountains near Lecce, they found hints of gold, allowing us to change the raw goods of this province to gold, which it currently is, fibrous crops at the moment, which is obviously a no-brainer. Gold is the strongest resource in the entire game, so you can utilise this to build a humongous gold and silver economy, allowing you to be one of Europe's best sources of jewellery too, and provided you can keep it under your own control and not have it whisked away by pesky trading nations, you can make yourself a gigantic economy. Seriously, try them out, they're insane. Next is Trebizond, otherwise known as the Trapezuntine Empire. They start in a unique position in Anatolia, surrounded by lots of rivals and certainly up for a challenge. As one of the last heirs to the Roman Empire, you stand to benefit from a large amount of flavour and gives you the challenge of trying to reform Rome. For example, you get an advance in the 3rd stage to buff your crown power and your army tradition through the Komnenos legacy. The Princes of the Lad advance is particularly strong, reducing the cost to add an accepted culture by 33% and increasing your cultural tradition. Strategic marriages that buff your diplomatic capacity by 1, Pontic Mountains that increase the hostile attrition, and Byzantine Birthright, which increases your monthly legitimacy. But whilst this nation is a challenge, don't get me wrong, it's insanely underrated. It's got a really healthy economy, and it starts an empire, giving the insane buffs we've already spoken about. You start with a really strong capital as well, with Trebizond itself being a silk province with a large tax base, decent harbour capacity, and perfect for an economic spiral. One major challenge to this nation, however, is food. With your starting market starting off in a poor food position, and your land ripe for urbanisation, but you can prevent this with a little bit of an investment, and you have a very strong economy to do it. And this is the main reason for why they're so underrated. You stand at the crossroads between some major markets, allowing you to make a lot of trade. And such a healthy balance for such a small country means you can spiral your economy insanely quickly, especially as you're a coastal power, allowing you to push up and down the coast, increase your maritime presence, and get high control over this entire area. For number 3, it will be the Mali Empire, with similar levels of strength to the aforementioned because of their government rank. But they're not just strong regionally, they're one of the strongest nations in the entire game. Why? Well, they start with most of Western Africa, just under their thumb already. But the real power behind them is gold. Gold! When you start with no less than 12 gold provinces in your immediate vicinity, and high control over a lot of your own gold mines, you're in for a very, very good game. I mean, let's not forget, this is literally Mansa Musa we're talking about. A country that starts with 2.8 grand in the bank, a gigantic balance of 15 for 1337. And there's some great unique content too, such as reclamation of land, which buffs their population capacity by 10%, accounts for the Atlantic Voyage, which reduces their cost to recruit an explorer by 33%, warrior spirit, which buffs their discipline by 5%, and they have some really strong unique units from game start. Unique auxiliaries and 10% infantry power, unique infantry and horsemen, which are better than the standard units, an additional type of infantrymen, the full professional armies, that also allow you to build a stockade building, which buffs your fort defense, and a barracks building from game start, which gives you monthly manpower and allows you to build these unique sofa units. This is the full professional armies, by the way, so this is very, very strong. And another unique troop set of Ferrari troops, which also buff your cavalry power. This is all in the first stage, so you can use these new unique troops to conquer your enemies and take over the map. But what makes them a world beater is their proximity to the New World. Early access to cheap colonization means they can go out, take over the New World and stop the colonizers getting control over the Horn of Africa and even further afield. You can beat them at their own game, and you've got the economy and army quality to do just that. Pivoting back to the Caucasus, you need to try out the Kingdom of Georgia. They start with an insanely good king, a really healthy economic situation, with some really, really strong local RGOs. You're a member of the Ilkhanate, giving you some excess flavour and ability to claim the Ilkhanate if you can find yourself a claimant to make your ruler. And you've got the tools for your country bonuses to make this a reality, with 10% infantry power just in the first age, monthly legitimacy, cultural influence, buffing your siege ability and your integration speed, and a humongous 25% fort defense in the first stage, allowing you to turn your country into a castle. And you'll certainly need this, with the Golden Horde above you, the Timurids rising in the east, the Ottomans to your west, and Egypt to your south. You're in for one hell of a game. And finally, as your 5th nation, you need to try out Palembang. They don't get any unique country bonuses, and they have quite a terrible ruler, so why should you play this glorious nation? Well, from 1395, you have the ability to become a pirate navy nation in the region of the world with some of the most important RGOs such as cloves, and near the great Chinese, Korean and Japanese hegemons that you can farm and do some damage. Now I've left this one deliberately vague, but load them up and give them a try, because being a pirate nation is incredibly fun in EU5. Give it a go. Trust me, you won't regret it. And if you're looking for something else to learn more about EU5, here's 8 minutes of my best EU5 tips. Give it a go. Likewise, you won't regret it. Now, go try out one of these campaigns and subscribe on your way out. Thank you. Have a great day.